Still sitting in a truck seat that's older than your favorite pair of work boots? Your back has been filing complaints for years. If your seat is worn out, sagging, or just plain uncomfortable, it's time for an upgrade. Head on over to seatspecialist.com. Check out their selection of quality replacement seats built to keep you comfortable mile after mile. And don't forget to use promo code TR104U to save 10% on your order. Seatspecialist.com, because a better ride starts with a better seat. Welcome back to another episode of That's Delivered. I'm your host, Trucking Ray, and we are here today to highlight people and stories making moves in the trucking industry. And today we have a special guest, someone with us who doesn't just represent the industry, she actively is shaping it. Ladda Love Hawkins is a trucking insurance risk manager and a community leader who is committed to creating equality, support, and empowerment, especially for African American women in trucking. She was recently named Vice President of the Community Engagement Committee for the African American Women in Trucking Association, better known as AAWTA. Her journey has purpose, heart, hustle, and today we're diving into it. Let's get into it. Hey, welcome to the show. Glad to have you on here.
Hey,
Ladda Love Hawkins. Yes. All right. How you
thanks for
doing?
having me. Doing good, doing well.
Awesome. Thank you for taking the time out. Your story is one that we want to know more about because you're making moves, doing great things in the industry. So your journey into the trucking world, well, we want to see. Can you enlighten us? What inspired you to get into the trucking industry?
Actually, a rumor inspired me. I was working as a commercial insurance agent for a really large brokerage out of Chicago, and one of my clients, who actually was a accountant, owned a trucking company. And I was just kind of like, how's that work? And he's like, that's where the money is. And, I guess saying it out loud now, it sounds very naive to be like, how's that work? Because business is business. But he asked if instead of just doing his accounting insurance, could we also handle his trucking insurance, which we did not. So I was like, no. I said, where do you go for that? He's like, well, I'm trying to ask you. And I'm like, well, I don't know. And so I did some research and asked a bunch of questions, found out how you find trucking insurance and brought that information back to him. And he was just like, okay, cool. Thanks for, helping me out. And I said, well, I'm actually really intrigued by it right now. And I was like, I think, this is a path to kind of go forward. And so it started off as a rumor of, trucking insurance being super expensive. How do you get into it? To research to ultimately becoming a thing.
Nice. Wow, that's awesome. Was there anything that also inspired you previously that you could share with us? Possibly someone you knew was a truck driver, or someone else that inspired you and your family.
My brother-in-law is actually was an over-the-road truck driver. Now he just drives locally. So um, I always heard I'm a former teacher, and I've always heard statistically everyone knows a trucker, and I was just like, that's not true. But as I've kind of been asking, it's like if it's not direct, it's probably only one or two people removed. So trucking is out there. It's like under your nose type out there. We don't realize until we are aware how much trucking is around us, from the people, the trucks on the road, and just again, retail. I mean, that's really all we have to say with that, right? Retail.
Yeah. That's great. Yeah. Man. So, yeah, you think about those specific moments, and you think about those individuals that touched your life. What was one of some of the toughest spots that stood out to you that you pushed through to get where you're at today?
The COVID bubble. I don't know if that's a thing or we just call it that, but I think everyone, especially in trucking, kind of can relate and understand. It's something now that it's a couple years removed, but its impact is still being felt. I started in the industry in 2018, so right before everything kind of happens. So when it happens, I thought that was the regular. I thought that's just how the industry looked. But then the 2 years afterwards showed me that yeah, it wasn't really always like that. And so the resilience of people who stayed and made it through that, and then just the reality of the economy and how it impacts families, because that's really one thing I really kind of was attracted to, was getting to talk to hardworking people who are trying to do the best things for their family. This is a skill set they have. It was a very open way for many people to get into a good career, and just hardworking and earnest, And so I was just like, yeah, if they're working, I'll work too. I'm, I guess, a little bit of an advocate in that way. Um, whenever I see someone trying, it just makes me want to try harder for them.
Nice. Nicely said. I mean, that's a lot of the reasons what make this podcast go is teamwork and mentorship. That's a lot of the theme that I try to advocate for is, we have good drivers, we have owners and leaders. Always have people that are in your corner. That's great. Did you have any mentors or teammates that helped you or guide you early on?
Not direct, and that was kind of an interesting place to be, because I could say insurance, to which I had insurance mentors, and then I could say trucking, to which I had mentors that showed me a little bit more of what the trucking side of things looked like. But as far as one person that kind of did it the way I wanted to do it, not quite. And many times I would hear from one side or the other side, you're doing too much, like you're just the insurance agent, Lotta, just stop it, just whatever they tell you. And I'm like, but they're telling me they don't know. So I want to find out. And if I can run across somebody that's a broker and they can, have a connection, it's a win-win-win, three ways round. So no one specifically, but definitely it was a lot of asking, a lot of individuals, their stories that helped me learn how to just be um, more well versed in trucking. And even too, I will still say I have a lot more to learn.
Nice. So you also are a giving person. So you're helping others in so many ways when you do that. When you decide to say, "Hey, I'm going to do a little more than the average person is doing here. I'm going to take it a step further." What have you learned from those lessons when you push forward like that? What has have you seen as the results?
Respectfully, that not everyone enjoys pushing. I have a T-shirt, actually. I was between that one and this one, about trust the process. But I said I'm not bossy, just overly. I'm not bossy. I'm overly or aggressively helpful. Yeah. So I was like, oh, that's me. But sometimes, you have to take people where they are, and I have a pretty long sales background, so I've always kind of been instructed to just keep pushing, keep pushing, keep pushing. But sometimes that's not what someone needs. Um, they may need the resources, and then you kind of fall back. And so just learning that not everyone's kind of in it for the same reasons really was eye-opening.
Nice. Um, that's great. You think about teamwork and also community. What has it been like to be a part of the trucking community for you?
It's been awesome. It actually reminds me a lot of the military community, to where it's service first, sometimes even unknowingly, because if you've ever asked a soldier or a driver, so why are you here? They're going to kind of tell you surface level, maybe the money. But when you see the character of these men and women who are out here, it's got to be more than money, because you could get paid probably more sitting at home doing certain things. But you chose to be behind the wheel. You chose to, be behind the desk that talks to people, about loads and time pressures and all that other stuff. So it's got to be more than what they're saying. And I'm a mama, and I think a former teacher, that I sit there and I always say there's more to it. There's more to it. And I try to pull that out of people. I try.
Yeah, I like it. We need that. And you're looking back and you think about, how you help other people, but what about for yourself, for a lot of, what advice would you give your younger self looking back? Maybe some other people can learn from that as well.
I'll actually give a shout out to someone who helped pave my way to Adam Wingfield. Many people know Adam, and I worked with him briefly doing some sales on his consulting side. And I remember when I first was sharing my vision of just, being out here, just trying to learn, he said, why am I letting a few $100s get in the way of a few $1,000s? So what I would tell my younger self is just kind of do it. Just do it and keep it going. Just keep the momentum going. It's scary, I think, for anybody, all the people, when you start seeing the numbers get, exponentially bigger and things like that. You get excited, but just continue with that process. Don't let an extra zero or a comma in the equation scare you from doing something.
Nice. You have any go-to people that you look to for encouragement or get ideas? Do you have anybody else in your corner as well?
Absolutely. All of AAWTA, that's really the big initiative with AAWTA and the African American Women Trucking Association. We come from very diverse backgrounds. Some of us are brand new to the industry. Some of us are literally married to the, industry with spouses and significant others being drivers and everything. Um, and I like that diversity because it really just shows you if you want it, you can get it, and there's people around that are willing to give. Because really, one of the ways or one of the things said when people first kind of enter into our community is, I didn't know you existed. Fair, because we're just 3 years old. But also, this feels like family. And it's like, well, to me personally, that's the biggest compliment you can give me. It's just, it feels good, because then, like I said, it's more than just surface level. It's not transactional, it's relational.
Yeah. Yeah, it's perfect. So beyond the cap, the impact of work and insurance, you've transitioned from, those areas going into the trucking world. What led you to make the move into trucking insurance and risk management for those areas?
So risk management, many people don't realize, is the technical term for insurance, because um, you have to see really what the trucking company is doing to best fit it to insurance. Many people think we're just shopping price, but they're also shopping your company. And so helping trucking companies, owner operators, investors, however you're in it, to understand it's how your business practices come together is really the thing that saves you money in the long run. And when in the beginning, when you're first starting off, everybody's just starting off, so the rates aren't that great because there's no evidence, positive or negative. As you progress, you start creating that paper trail. And then if you had some negative experiences, just like bad credit, you don't pay a couple of bills, you can't just blow that off. It's going to follow you until it's dealt with. And pretty much the same in regards to trucking. We look at trucking risks for the past 3 years. And if there's not 3 years to look at, it's that 1 year until it's two, till it's three. But helping people understand that it's just not out the blue numbers. There's things that you can do to actually control it. There's things you could do to advocate for yourself. So that's where the risk management piece comes in. And that's why I say I do insurance, but I'm more of a risk manager.
Okay. Yeah. Talk me through your day. What is it like on a day-to-day basis for you and some of the things that you get involved with?
Each day is different, so that's always fun. Depending on who blew up my phone early in the morning, I try really hard to work off my calendar because I want to be timely and professional. I've always just equated the two to be one. When you're mindful about people's time, that that's a professional courtesy that you want continued. And especially in this world of logistics, it's about the time, right? You can't just show up when you want to. Some places require appointments too. And so going through emails, there's always, or should be always, a quote pending. So follow-ups are usually the first thing that I kind of reach back out. Hey, has anything changed since the last time we've spoke? Um, and then kind of working that, asking, just kind of checking into the online community, checking in with my contacts, whether they're dispatchers, family members, brokers. I do a lot of reading different magazines, blog articles, and stuff to stay on top of the newest things happening, like, the break event coming up and just different stuff, just so I can follow a conversation, but most of all, it's really just making sure I'm accessible. I think that's really the biggest value add is that if you have a question, on or off the books, let's have the conversation.
Nice, nice. That's huge, man. Being a part of that. What are some of the biggest misconceptions about insurance that you would say
One
people
size fits all, because
have?
it's really not. People will say, well, I could go on, so and so's website and get coverage. You can't. But once you get that coverage, is that really the coverage you need? Now, some people, yeah, not trying to insult anyone's intelligence, you could figure it out. But there might have been some other opportunities to, because we're not, the common consumer is not doing it every day. It's like they say, changing oil. Some people can change it real fast, and other people that's a whole day process. And so it's like, how often are you doing this? And so, how often are you looking for insurance quotes? This is something I do daily. And so, if I can help you in that way, give you some tips before you create that paper trail, because that is the thing. If you say you're doing one thing and then change it drastically within a month, the question is, were you ever really doing it? So,
And so, what can drivers do to help you with that? Managing their risk so that they help themselves and also help things go smoothly in the industry for overall for everyone.
big thing, self advocacy. So, knowing where you are, knowing what your factors are, just because you may not have a CDL for 2+ years doesn't make you um, that you can't work anywhere, but you probably can't really work for a smaller carrier because their insurance company is going to be really specific that all their drivers need to have that 2+ years experience. Um, so just knowing if you have, and just being like the transparency factor. If you've had tickets, just say you do. Just kind of let's talk about that. There might be some ways around it because, minor violations, being a little behind on a toll bill or something is different than having your third DUI. And it's the conversation that comes out sooner than later. Um, but if everybody came to the table with some transparency, honesty, and a spirit of collaboration, I think more can actually be done. If you're talking to a broker and the load seems very um, cheap freight, ask them what they have else. A lot of that is behind just they don't feel like you're that invested, and so it's just like I'm just going to say something to you to either deter you or entice you, and they get at a moment's notice, the ability to do so. Everything's negotiable. I've kind of learned that in my too many years of sales. Everything's negotiable, and no just means not now.
Nice. I like that. I really do. So, how did your passion for community and advocacy start growing? Where did the seed take place?
My background, I'm a military brat. My father, mother, we lived overseas for much of my younger years. In that military community, seeing where people you don't call off. There's no sick days per se in the military. You have to pretty much show up there and then they'll send you home. But if it's something that needs to be done, it needs to be done. And so I've taken that in regards to advocacy. You know, we may not have what we want now, but that doesn't mean we should stop trying. And especially if it's the right thing to do. I think that was even in my teaching career, really what I enjoyed working with special education was because I taught people how to advocate for themselves. Just so much could be said with that. How you present really opens up the doors for opportunities.
Oh, was there a moment where you realized this is bigger than yourself? That there's this is about helping others and find a way to. I mean, being part of the big
Often.
organization that
Mhm.
help the trucking industry. I mean, what moment did you have that you really saw that this was something different?
I think that moment that AAWTA found me, to be honest. Nicole Ward, who is the founder and president. She knows a couple of people within my circle, and I said I was going to actually just be hanging out on a Saturday in Marietta, Georgia at the library. And I was like, I put it out on social media. Hey, come hang with me. I don't know where y'all are. But someone come here because I'm stuck here for a couple of hours. I had an event that I flew in for, but I had my morning to myself and I didn't know what else to do. So she came out. We had a conversation. We had high energy. Both of us had high energy. And I heard her passion and that this was really real for her. And as we continued to stay in contact after that day, I just really was impressed in everything she was building and how it wasn't given to her. She went and got it. And I really respect that type of hustle. I've always had was like, cool, so you found a way to make this happen. And just I was at the point where I had just really closed down my agency with my sister because I got frustrated. Like I was saying, all the losses that my clients were having, people were going out of business, and folks probably don't realize that your insurance agent is on the line for you and your policy for that whole year. And so when you go out of business, part of them goes out of business too. And yeah, it was really tough. So I was like on the verge of giving up trucking. But then I remembered what I liked about trucking was the people, and I still have an opportunity to connect with the people just in a different way.
Wow. I mean, so Ada, that's huge. You got promoted vice president of community engagement committee. First of all, congratulations.
Thank you.
That's huge. What does the new role mean for you? What's some of the changes that have to take place there?
Mm, I would almost say nothing, but it is. It's an honor for sure to receive the promotion, the exposure. But in my eyes, I'm one of those that I'm going to respect the CEO and the janitor in the same way because it's all the work that you do. It's just more work, and work's not a bad thing. It's actually a privilege to be able to do more. Um, so being able now to connect with maybe some of the corporate partners we have, and having that title stands out a little bit more than just volunteer that was here, so it helps in that way. But I definitely just still say it's not just me; it's a reflection of the vision, that's here with the organization. To be able to speak about risk management and not be trying to sell something all the time. It's kind of a nice turn.
Nice. Yeah, man. So that's great. For those who haven't heard of AAWTA, can you break down the organization and why it was founded?
Sure. So again, 3 years old. The African American Women Trucking Association was created kind of under the Biden administration's set apart council of doing more for women in the industry. So they were tracking some data, creating initiatives to which Nicole Ward at the time just started a trucking company. And then she went out and she became a carrier of 3 trucks and just wanted to be more on that advocacy side. Her background is also in insurance, ironically, as an adjuster, and she just saw the opportunity to really help people understand um, the longevity of it, even though she had just started her business at the time. And so she approached it from I don't want to call it the political background, but the more policy and procedures, with FMCSA. There you go, FM. No, I done messed up my letters. FMCSA. Look, I say it so fast that I had to think about what it actually is. Um, and so advocacy is really strong with us, but as we're developing, kind of what makes us different than some of the other associations is we are very much focused on small business. So whether you're just starting, um, retiring, we have some people who are kind of looking at, okay, I'm retiring. What else can I do to still be a contributor? And I think that's really awesome when people have that mindset. Now that I've arrived, how can I make sure the next one does? Um, but we have virtual events as well as in-person events, but it's just a community. It's to hear the stories of how we all got here. um, and support one another in that. And, there can never be enough insurance agents in there, never be enough dispatchers. So it's not a competition. It's the how can I lend some information to you that might get you out of a rut you're currently in, and I'm listening for you to do the same. So it's very grassroots, hands-on. Like I said, you can't really be a part of AAWTA and be afraid of work. I'll say that because we're doing things. We're making momentum.
Nice. So let's dig into the mission. What makes the approach different than other industry groups?
Just even the recognition, the celebration of Black women specifically in transportation and trucking specifically. It's not an exclusive to where men can't be involved, allies can't be involved, because we actually have great supporters in those areas. Um, I know when I first kind of started and was networking or trying to network with some of the other associations, it was like, okay, quickly identify yourself. Are you a female driver? No. I have a small car, in fact. I can't, I don't do the large cars. I tear everything up. And then it was like, well, there's really no place for you here. And I was like, I can't support female drivers. And they're like, no, we all are female drivers. And I'm like, that doesn't even sound right. So went on to another one, and it was about business. And it was like, okay, the business of, but everything was like enterprise level. I'm like, so how can someone get started? What? And I was just like,
Yeah.
yeah, how can we get started? That's what I want to know. And they're just like, yeah, you should have already been here, or came from corporate, or this is your. So it was just the bouncing around that ultimately led. And I'm kind of a big proponent in that. Even in my business name, my own lane, it's like if you can't find it, create it, and it'll authentically be you. I'm pretty sure there's tons of other trucking business consultants, um, but I really want you to, when I work with you, to know I'm just pulling things out of you. And in my life, that's been something that growing up, oldest daughter, a little bit of a knucklehead, to where I've had people pour in and pull out from me, to where like I said, sometimes I'm a little heavy handed with that, but I appreciate it now for sure. The extra work, the tough love at times, I appreciate that. And I really want to um, share that in that way. If you give it, like with kids, if you give everything to them, they won't really appreciate it. They won't know how to do it themselves. And so my goal is just to let's, role play. Let's, really just listen to your value adds and what do you want to do out of all this? And let's make it happen.
Nice. Uh, so on the driver level, there's many stages. There's students. There's seasoned pros. How does it serve all drivers for the mission?
Just to really have them do the work, which really only you can do the work of who you are. Um, I didn't really realize how important that was until I kind of got older, hit 30 and 40, and now I'm 50, to where it's like, wow, I didn't really know myself. I thought I was one way when really that's not truly who I am. And even though your job, many people use that as their identity, that is not all you are. You bring a different approach just merely from being you. You could be that extra friendly driver, smiling and bringing cheer across America. You could be that grumpy person, but they still love you because you're telling, you like the salt of the earth. So it's not like we all have to be the same, but really just embracing who we are. So whether you're new or been around for a while, have you taken the time to really explore who you are and how you can make an impact?
Nice. I like that. You bring that out for people and help them to see, hey, there's more that you can contribute. It's not just keeping you right in the box. So that's great. I mean, let's talk about some of the resources that's available. Like I showed that there's legal education, financial literacy, and also health initiatives. Can you speak on those?
Sure. Health is wealth off top. Steve Jobs, with all his money, still, had what he had happen. And it's just one of those awarenesses. It's an order of things. A good foundation will keep you from having to repeat. Cutting corners, you're cutting edges, and edges can be sharp. I have all these little analogies from work being a high school teacher. I had to kind of be creative, and they're like, I ain't never heard that. Look, I just made that up. So it's just like just going with it, because there's abundance, and you find for real, you find your joy when you're really tuned in, because I really personally believe that's your gift. And as a gift is not meant for you, it's actually meant for you to share.
Right.
It's that thing that you can give joy to someone else. And so just making sure people are taken care of. If I may share this story, because it's actually a fresh story, unfortunately. I lost my father on March the 17th, 8 months almost to the date from losing my mother. So I lost both my parents here not even a full year ago. And my father was I'm a daddy's girl, definitely my rock. He was the one that he embraced my crazy, as I call it, um, accepted me for who I was and who I am, even my namesake. I used to hate my name when I was younger because I got teased for being different. Now it fits into what I do. It makes me stand out. It makes me memorable. And I give all the credit to him, to God, to just keeping me here. And that's really what kind of pushes me forward, and just knowing I'm just one person, and I'm only really just made to reach one other person, but we can ignite something big if we all just kind of get out there and share that joy, to be honest, share our gifts. And so health, he didn't take the best care of himself. He was actually very against doctors and traditional medicine. And literally he he stopped eating. He stopped eating.
Oh, man.
And he controlled that because he already knew we were going to be like, no, you need to do this, you need to do that. And you know, after you kind of do that, after 2 weeks, pretty much, yeah, that's what happens. And so
Mm.
I say he took it into his own hands,
Yeah.
but I have still the utmost respect for him because he took it into his hands because he knew that we would try to do more than what he wanted us to do. He wanted to be with my mom. They were married 50 years. He was with her literally for her last breath. And man, what kind of goals, right? I ain't mean to bring the mood down, but just what
Oh,
kind of goals? Because that's what kind of helps me keep going even now. Everyone's like, take a break, you need to grieve. I said, but my grief actually puts me into action. And I'm just realizing I only have we all only have a few number of days, and kind of where I am in life, I'm got more behind me than in front of me at this point. So what can I do while I'm here? I'm like so excited about that. That's really what I want to share because I really feel like I haven't shared my gifts with all that it's meant to be shared with. And so thank you for allowing me to share that story. Look, and I'm proud of myself because I did so without tearing up because it is still very fresh. It's still very fresh.
yeah. I'm proud of you too. I know he is
Thank you.
well. And I mean, that's the stories we like to hear. That's the stuff that helps people come together and realize that there's more than just the day to day. That there's more behind this, the bigger picture. Stop looking at the tree. There's a big forest
Mm,
out here of individuals that have put in their blood, sweat, and tears. And no, I appreciate you sharing that. That's real
thank
talk.
you.
I like that. I love that. Yeah,
Thank you.
motivation for me, and I like how you talked about the grief can cause you to push harder. Um, yeah, so the pain can translate into energy. That's a lot of things that I can resonate very well with and relate with it on a personal level. So thank
Thank
you for
you.
sharing that. Yeah. Um, Man, so community is huge. I think that's great that you guys would take that as a part of your business plan and the mission for the organization to keep pushing through, not just make it all transactional. That it could be so much more. And I think that goes deeper with individuals, and you'll go much further. So keep doing that. Keep leading the way,
Thank
taking
you.
charge.
Thank you. I do want to do a shout out real quick. So there's another initiative, part of AAWTA, but it's still very in its infant stages. But it was me missing the classroom, I guess. Um, I love young people, I really do. And so Youth in Logistics it's a financial literacy program because it all kind of stems from there, but it's also career exploration in logistics. So not just driving, not freight brokering, but there's a marketing organization for logistics. So if you want to be a marketer, you could do that. Create content such as yourself, and we're spreading education, and we're still part of the system. And so that's something kind of near and dear to my heart. It's just kind of a revamp of something that I've done in my past that I'm really excited because the industry is aging. Statistically, most drivers get into the industry in their late 30s. And so it's like, so how long do you want to do this? And that should be a decision and not a forced choice. You shouldn't have to get behind the wheel if you no longer have the heart for it. But what do you do next if you're not quite ready to retire? So, talking about all those things, that long term goal, starting from the kids, because my dad actually he was pretty much the caretaker for all of our kids. I have two boys. My other sister has three boys, and then my middle sister has a boy and a girl. But he was there so our kids didn't have to go to daycare, and that was a huge sacrifice. But if you asked him, he said it was his pleasure, it was his joy, and I mean, our kids had such great times with him. And so that's really what I want to just like instill. My teaching background says most of us don't even know what we want to do. Sometimes I jokingly say, I don't know what I want to be when I grow up, and I'm still growing to change and do different things and be open to it. But most of what we end up doing is because we know somebody, we've seen somebody, we were exposed to it. Lawyers became lawyers because they were exposed to it. And I think the same could really happen in logistics. We can have, as we always talk about, generational wealth. It comes from the ability to reproduce thoughts, trends, lifestyles, values, not just money. Money's a big part of it, don't get me wrong, but not just money. There's a mental thing that goes with money, psychology of money. I talk on that a lot too because I always just I don't want to go down that rabbit hole, but
Oh, great.
I think we all know, when Fridays come and if that was a payday, there's that vibe. Everyone's excited about Friday. But if that's the day you have to pay something, it's not so fun, So it's like, where are we in that psychology of money? Are we respecting our money? Do we let it take us to places, that we should have more control on? Just because my bank account says something, is it the day before I get paid? Do I have assets versus just, everything in the red? So it's very much psychological. Our spending habits are taught, actually, research based, by our parents. It's not what you just say, it's what you do. So if you're giving your kid an allowance and you're telling them don't spend it all at once, but they've watched you go, you know, through your whole check the day you get it, what you say and what you do are contradictory.
Yeah. Yeah, that's nice. Um, yeah, you should continue to speak on that because that's it's a big problem, man. America is in a lot of debt, and being in debt, you go about through your whole life totally different. You
Mhm.
make different decisions. You look at the world through a different set of lenses. I mean, it's a big deal, not just from a young stage, but also how those parents treat their children, how the time they spend with them. So yeah, it's a huge deal that we need
Absolutely.
to get under control instead of letting it go rampant, right? Just
Hmm.
clicking the button and getting that product. They want to get it to you as soon as possible because statistics show that if they can get that product to you quicker, then you're less likely to change your mind. I think some
Hmm.
people put stuff in the basket and say, if I come back to it in a couple weeks, then I truly, really need it or I really want it. But if I just click on it, and you got a bunch of stuff around your house that you don't need.
Hmm. Absolutely.
So
Waste.
yeah,
Subscriptions. I mean, you've
yeah,
got 5 movie subscriptions, but what movie did you sit down last and watch that wasn't on one of the channels? I mean, yeah.
ain't got time to watch it.
Hmm.
That's good. Yeah, keep pushing that one. That's a good one. I
Thank
like
you.
that. So, I mean, memberships and opportunities. I see that AAWTA offers several membership levels for student memberships, affiliate memberships, and also allies and supporters. I like that. That's huge. It opens things up. Can you explain how people can get involved and get those membership offers for themselves?
Sure. I would first even just say we want to invite you to any of the virtual events. So go into the website, aawta.org, AAWTA.org. There's an events tab and it has the calendar of our monthly events. It's free to join. And if some of them do have a price on them because we open it up to the general public, but just reach out to me to get a discount code and be my guest. I really am that confident that when you feel the vibe, you'll understand. And it's not for everybody. Some people may feel that this is not where they belong, and that's perfectly fine because that's really the bigger mindset. We don't want those that are coming here for just transactional, just to sell another course and not care about the outcomes. Um, and so I, that's where it would start. Come out, network, and then just go from there because it's a collective. It honestly is. We're opening our scholarships back up, so we're collecting money now again to give back out to drivers or those looking at the industry. Some of our higher level partners have workforce development programs, and so we have an inside to where you want to stay local. We've got a company that has 8 different locations across the U.S. And so we would try to place you there so you could stay local.
So that's huge for people getting involved in person and also online, right?
Yes.
Wow, yeah, that's great. So it opens up the door for a lot of opportunity for people to get involved. Um, you think about dispatchers, HR, logistic professionals, or even in other parts of the industry. They all can join. I like that. The allyship and support. How can men or other companies that may feel like part on the outside of that organization, how can they feel like they're not on the outside and be a part of it too?
I'm glad you asked that because it's yeah, that's what I would dare say is one of our differentiators too, because it's a very welcome, and you don't have to identify to come in through the door, if I could say that, to where you have to pick a side because the same thing. Come and enjoy the vibe as you come in. Some guys love being the only male in the room. Some guys it's like, hey, I need to bring a friend. Well, bring your friend. And we're talking about the topics that are pertinent to all of us. And we had a event not too long ago where a gentleman was just like, I never really realized how difficult that would be for a woman to again have to not take care of some of her physical needs in the same way that we just kind of push it off and hey I'll just kind of keep it going, but there's some other considerations to have when it comes to women, can't do certain things in that way. So, but he said he just didn't ever really realize. I mean, it's one of those things, like I said earlier, to where trucking is right underneath our nose. Sometimes the status quo is what we take for granted, and we don't realize other people may have a totally different experience. And so it's not a pity party by no means, and like we say we're celebrating. We're having fun. We're showing where it's not a last dead end resort, but this is a choice. This is a choice. As we feel about really all types of work out there, I look at work very differently. I think it's an honor to be selected, to perform work, to be someone that is looked at to be a contributor, and that you have those gifts to contribute. I mean, wow, That says a lot of somebody. So people who always like, I hate work. Why? I want to ask them that. Why? Why do you hate work? You were chosen.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, if people had it their way, there's quite a few people that would be willing to trade, So I like that. As far as upcoming events, what are some upcoming events that we can be excited about?
So we have a virtual drivers forum coming up this week. So we really have, the drivers to come tell us some of their experiences. What is it like working at different companies? We keep it very organic. Um, and then we'll be at the Texas Trucking Show at the end of June in Houston. Um, Trying to think of some of the other ones off the top because there's just a lot going on. We have actually a space in our Atlanta headquarters that we are debuting next month. So it's the Power Hub. And so it's an indicator, and we're super excited about that because now that that tangible feel to it can exist too, because we've just kind of been hosting in different places, around the US, but now we have a home, and that means a lot.
That's huge. That's great. Uh, what is it like to be at some of the events? So or can you paint a picture for people that maybe want to attend? I know you say
Sure.
keep it organic, or are they at home, or are they in person? I mean, kind of break it down for them a little bit.
So I think one of the shocking factors, and I'll blame myself with it, because again, I'm a former teacher and a current mom. I don't like people coming into the space without saying hello. So my Southern hospitalities is just like, I see you, hello, introduce yourself. How are you doing? So don't come to the space expecting to hide. And we're not going to put you on Front Street, but it's definitely an environment to where it's intimate and by design. Usually we have about 20 people join us. So it's, to where you're getting a good mix of people. Cameras are optional. So if you're not someone who wants to be on camera, totally fine, but still participate. We're going to ask questions, and if even giving everybody an opportunity, if you would, passing the mic of this is your moment to say something, because we understand that there's some people that are more assertive that will just talk like I do on anything, and then we have some people who are thinking about it and have some really great insight, but until you ask them, they're not really going to be comfortable in sharing that. So that's the vibe, that come as you are, even if, like, we have a lot of people who research, so they don't have a company just yet, they're still trying to figure it out of what there is to do. And it's like, why don't you ask some people? Because I'm pretty sure the people in this room right now could be a potential client. And
Wow.
so ask.
Yeah, and caring is sharing, right?
Absolutely.
Something you learn at a very young age. So don't let those go to the wayside. Like I said, saying hello, trying to it's like a culture of just you know not saying a whole lot. I don't know if cell phones got that going or what, but
Mm.
yeah. So that's good. That's good. Awesome. So let's looking at beyond the work. Let's talk about how outside of all the titles, what keeps you grounded. Tell people a little bit about what keeps your stress off. What are you passionate about outside of work and travel?
um, I guess, like most people will say, my family. I have two awesome young men that, I've been blessed to be their mother, and they surprise me each and every day. They're so kind and giving and considerate, and I yeah, I love my boys. I love my boys. So I have a 23-year-old and a 15-year-old, and grew up with them. They grew up with me for sure. But I think as a parent, I can acknowledge that I didn't have a lot of it figured out, and probably made some mistakes if you kind of go back and look. But was it from a place of caring and just really trying to make sure I was accessible, I was there? One of the main reasons I took a career change um, was that I wanted to be there after school for my kids as they got home. That was what my mom was able to do for me. Um, was in a marriage, but it didn't work out that way. And it was like, but I still need to be there for my boys. That's just really important. I feel like if you don't get certain things at home, you don't know to expect them at home. And like I said, my parents were married 50 years. Um, Home is very special to us, but it's definitely a mentality. It's an action. Um, so they're my everything. We joke, we watch movies, and for them to be 10 years apart, they're the same height now. And look, my oldest one hates me saying that, but they're the same height now. And it's just a beautiful thing to watch young people blossom. And so I'm really proud of them. That's my biggest thing.
Nice. Yeah, I got an older brother myself. I always wanted to be his height, but it didn't happen. So, yeah, he would always, do better with the basketball because of the height. Just had to try a little harder, keep up.
That's
But
funny.
yeah, family, home life, that's great. A lot of passion there that keeps you going. And you got two young men that also maybe can make choices in their life to see, hey, look what mom was doing there. I can push forward. I can do these things. I can challenge myself. So that's huge. Great example.
Thank you.
Um, and also, so is there any way that we could help others with reflection? Looking at the legacy, looking at all the things you're doing for the industry. What's your message for the next generation of women coming into the industry or others? And that doesn't have to be women as well.
You have choices. You definitely have choices. I think a lot of times we're kind of feeling that we're forced to do one thing or another, but you have choices. And so fully explore those. If you are looking at a career that offers, travel, I saw someone else do this, and I meant to capture it for this interview, but they 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 positioned truck driving like it was a vacation. And I said, that's kind of cool. I like that because it's just a different way to look at it. Do you want to be paid to go around the world? Do you want to meet people and see new things? And it was just like, then you can be a truck driver. I said, that's kind of cool. So it's a mindset. So my message is you have choices. Dream big. Dream big and then just let it happen. You know, we measure success in many different ways, and my success may look different than yours. You might be looking at financially. I may be looking at my time. My time is really important to me, um, and so yeah, different ways. But you have to do the work. You have to do the work. You have to really know you first to be able to say what you want.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of people out there feeling stuck, unsure, or maybe they're feeling like, I don't belong in this industry, even this day and age. But what would you tell them to keep pushing forward? I know you said dream big, but what about those individuals that think, hey, man, that's not for me to dream big? What would you say?
To it is scary. So I acknowledge that. A lot of people say, "Oh, you're just kind of you're a risk taker. You're not scared." Oh no, I'm a very scary person. I overthink, all those things there. But I I'm encouraged by it's the mistakes that teach us more than success does. You won't really have as much attention or unless you're redirected. Some of us have natural things we're kind of good at, being maybe outgoing could be looked at as being something natural, but ask anybody who is a motivational speaker, do they still get jitters when they talk in public? And they'll tell you yes. And it's really interesting to think that. So you're not typecasted, and I kind of fell into the to the to the whole. I was trying not to say that, but that's what it is. Of trying to please my parents, oldest daughter. I was like, okay, I need to do good in school. High school was challenging for me because I wasn't focused. So right out of high school, I did a bunch of things and such, but then I came back, and I think that's the thing that is really part of my character right now. you can come back. You could come back if you don't burn those bridges. You could come back if it's something you honestly wanted. Don't just quit because it got hard, because it all is hard, you know? So if you're feeling stuck, if you're doing this just for the paycheck, you got to find where you're contributing, your purpose. And so that's my message. We all have purpose. I mean, and it's if you don't think so, not to be too spiritual, but you wouldn't be here if you didn't have a purpose. It's not an accident. You didn't avoid something. You have a purpose. Yours might just not be discoverable just yet, but do that work and it's going to change your whole life. It really literally will.
Nice. Yeah, you got to put the work in. Thank you so much, Lotta. Thank you
Thank
for
you.
joining me and encouraging other people to take those bold moves, take those steps, and it's okay to be uncomfortable because that's you growing. That's you expanding yourself to new horizons, new things. So I appreciate everything that AAWTA is doing for African American women and beyond in the trucking industry. So I think that's huge that you guys are taking that as something important for safety, education, and building bridges in the industry. So your story reminds us trucking is more than just a job; it's a movement, and
It's a movement.
yeah, and the movement gets stronger. So as we show up for each other each and every day, like that teamwork, that community, I think that's going to be huge for a lot of us and moving forward. Like I said, 2020, a lot of those things that happened then, we're still fighting through it.
Hmm.
A lot of people are still having to make different decisions to come around the corner and say, hey, let's turn this corner. But man, it seems like it's a long corner.
It's a long corner.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
It's an
yeah.
expensive corner. Yes,
Uh,
but that's the best things, right? When you watch a movie, you watch it for how does the hero change? How does it how do they overcome? That makes the best movies. Um, so just kind of consider your life a movie and you're just in that part right now that's adding the are they gonna make it? It's like, yes, I am. But yeah, we all feel scared and it's perfectly normal to do so. Be transparent with it and you'll be surprised how people will be there to help.
nice. Yeah, you can't fast forward. You gotta let it play out. So might as well keep taking one step at a time, one day at a time, one week at a time, and you'll see a difference each and every day as you keep pushing forward. And I say the same for myself. I'm so glad to have you on the show.
Thank
One
you.
step closer every day to bringing new stories and helping individuals in the trucking industry and beyond. That there's a lot here that's still left to be discovered. So for anyone out there listening, you can always support AAWTA at visit AAWTA.org, learn more about the association and get involved. There's also, I think, there's a fundraising link that
Mhm.
I'll add in the comments for fundraising efforts. Customlink.com fundraising.
We have t-shirts and hoodies right now, but we're a 501c3, so any donation, big or small, is definitely welcome. We put it to a purpose. Like I said, we have our headquarters now, so a physical space, as well as just the time that it takes to get people together, um, keep the lights on, even in this internet world. That's where your dollars are going. The operations. That's what. But we're really working on having people realize the tangible piece of it too.
Nice. So, is there anything I missed or anything you want to highlight before we go for the listeners out there to help them also get involved and be engaged?
Just check the website, attend a virtual event, you could reach out to me at Ladda, Ladda, at AAWTA.org for any other questions or resources. But yeah, we're waiting on your gifts too. It's like that potluck. We right now we just got some napkins, you guys, and we need we need someone to bring some like sakatumi cake or something else, something good. And then for our vegetarian friends, they can have their salads. But just it's just better with the mix and to have fun. I mean, I know it's trying times for so many of us, but we gotta be grateful. It's that grateful attitude that we're still here. As I just shared, many of us are not, and know people that are not, but we're still here, and that should make you feel excited.
Awesome. Nicely said. Couldn't say it better. So that's another episode of That's Delivered. Stay safe out there, stay connected, and keep delivering greatness. And we'll catch you next time.
All right. Thank you.
Are you a trucker looking for a safe and reliable place to park? Look no further than Truck Parking Club. With locations across the country, we've got the perfect spot waiting for you, whether it's daily or long-term parking. And right now, use promo code DELIVERED at checkout for an exclusive discount. Reserve your spot today at truckparkingclub.com and drive stress-free, knowing your parking is covered.